Welcome, everybody, and good morning. As some of you know, I worked 20 years with my father in the printing business, and he taught me a bunch of things. And I have wanted to pay that forward, which I do in this presentation. So it's many things I learned from my father, a few from my family, and also just from experiencing life. So you might be wondering about, what does write big so you can think clearly mean? Well, when I was 14, I needed some help with some algebra word problems. And my dad was really good at math. I'm like, Dad, help me with this problem. And he said, okay, read the problem aloud. So I read the problem aloud. And he said, now we want to write down everything we know. How much do the 3-cent stamps cost? I'm like, big eye roll, I'm 13, right? Ugh, Dad, I don't know, it's not in the problem. He said, now open your mind when you do math. How much do the 3-cent stamps cost? 3 cents? He said, write it down. I said, I have to write that down? He said, listen, when you're doing math, you want to write down all the knowns, and then we're going to solve for the unknowns. So I started writing them all down, and he said, oh no, you're writing too small. You have to write big so you can think clearly. So he actually did teach me how to do algebra word problems. The sad thing is, when all the kids passed their papers up to the front, they had 1 page of homework and I had 10 because I had to write down all the knowns and write big so I could think clearly. But the lesson that I got out of it I still use today is when I'm trying to solve a big problem or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I write down what I know, what I'm trying to solve for, and then all the steps that get me there. So I love lists and I love writing down what it is I'm trying to achieve. So when I started selling printing with him, there were no women back then, by the way. This was his first lesson. Don't work with assholes. So I had sold this account. I was super excited, right? I sold my very first account, and it was a nonprofit agency. So they did work for nonprofits. And I built it up, and then the production manager was let go, and a new woman came in who immediately did not like me. So I was trying all my charms and all my follow-ups and all my detail work, and she was just nasty. So one day I tore my corneas and I had patches on my eyes, and we were supposed to review some artwork back in the days when it was art boards. And I called her, I had my husband dial the phone because I couldn't see anything, and I said, hey, can we move this meeting to tomorrow? I tore my corneas and I have patches on my eyes, and we have plenty of time to get the job done. And she said, ugh, can't somebody drive you? I said, yes, someone could drive me, but when I get there, I can't see anything because I have patches on my eyes. And my father said, you know what? She is so nasty to you. She's going to make you feel so bad about yourself that you're not going to do as well with the clients that are great. He said, give her away to somebody else, which I did. I gave her to a young man, interestingly enough, who she loved right away, who was not nearly as thorough as me, but got along great with her, and it was a big success. And it was a great lesson. Don't be around the people that make you feel icky. And guess what? If you don't like them, they probably don't like you either. Work with the people that you love, like our great team here. The most important thing to do in business is to do what you say you're going to do, right? Not 90%, 100%. Every time you make a promise with a date, a time, whatever it is, write it down, keep track of it, and do exactly what you say you're going to do. And if something comes up, let people know ahead of time. Building reliability is so important for building trust. It is the most important thing to do in business. So I tell the guys, don't tell the girl you're going to call her if you're not going to call her, right? Do what you say you're going to do. Keep your promises. So this was my dad's second lesson in business. I came into his office and he said, today we're going to learn about finances. Where do you get money? I was like, Dad, what do you mean, where do you get money? And he said, does the government give you money? No. I said, do vendors give you money? No. I said, well, customers do. And he said, exactly. Figure out what customers need and help them get it done. Answer your phone. Be available, right? If someone's trying to call you, if someone's trying to reach you, they're trying to get something done. Maybe it's a team member. Maybe it's a client. Maybe they're worried about something. And if you're responsive, if you have your phone with you, if you're talking to them, if you're there, if you're available, It makes people feel like they've got the right teammate. So the secret to communication, be an active listener, right? Really look at people and listen to what they have to say and let them finish. Don't be thinking about what you're going to say next, right? Really listen to what they have to say. And then, so they know you got it, repeat it back in your own words. And then if you're working with a client on a project, whatever it is you guys have discussed, get it done. And here's the thing people always forget to do. Let them know it's done, right? Don't just assume that they're going to know that it's done. Now, some things are obvious. If it's a delivery to their desk and it's on their desk, they're going to know it's done. But let people know that you understood what they needed, you got it done, and you let them know it's done. So this is from Brené Brown. I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but she is a researcher that I enjoy listening to for personal growth and leadership and management. And she says, clear is kind, and bullshit is unkind. So I love clear is kind, right? This also works with your spouse. Husbands are dying to know what you want. You got to be clear. Clear is kind. If you're giving feedback to people, give them specific examples. Don't sort of hedge it or try to soften it. No, clear is kind. That doesn't mean abrasive or rude, but clear, right? What do you need to do? And give people specific tactics on how to do it better. This is another Brené Brown thing. If someone gives you an assignment or a client gives you an assignment, it's great to ask, what does done look like? So one time I had asked a VP for an update on a client because I was meeting with them and I got all this detail and I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is not what I was looking for, not the detail on the projects. I'm looking for what it is they're trying to do. What are their big goals this year, right? How are they being measured as far as success? And so give people, like you get this image in your head of what done looks like, but ask people, what does done look like? So that you know whatever you're delivering is what they had in mind. Pad for success. Okay, so the good news is, there's no padding going on here because this would really be sad, but it's so important to under-promise and over-deliver. Give people a chance to be successful and pad for success. Compliments. My dad used to say compliments, genuine compliments, work so well, it's almost like cheating. But you know what? You're making people feel good. And sometimes we get so busy, we forget. I was with our Blue Shield of California clients and must have met with 10 different ones. And each one told me how great the new CMO was and how he's having such a positive impact on their business. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I wonder if they told him that. So I shot him an email and I said, hey, Jeff, guess what is the one common thing everyone was saying? And that's how great you are and how much you've added to Blue Shield of California and how much they love working with you and what a great leader you are. And he was so appreciative. And it was just genuine. So if you're working with a teammate, they've done something extraordinary, we're appreciative. I tell the clients all the time, thank you for the business. It means so much to us. And thank you for supporting us. So compliments and gratitude are a winning combination. Starting fresh. So my dad and I were in our office and a guy came in and said he was moving to Colorado because he wanted to start fresh. And my dad said, well, moving is great, but the problem is you're taking your one problem with you and that's you. You can start fresh wherever you are. It's not about being in a different location. It's about a growth mindset, right? You can change, you can adapt, you can improve. We're all on this life's journey, and we can start fresh with whatever it is we want to do, any place we are. Oh, this is from my daughter. Mom, no one wants your tips. But right out of How to Win Friends and Influence People, people don't like unsolicited advice. And the other thing is, I think Gandhi said, fix the world, fix yourself. Stop telling everyone else what they need to do and start thinking about what you need to do. back in the printing business, if we ever had a spoilage or a problem on a job, and we had a post-mortem, my dad would never allow us to talk about what somebody else should have done. He said, nope, I only want to hear what you as the individual, what could you have done to prevent this, and what are you going to do next time? So it's being accountable, and it's thinking about what can I do? How do I improve? How do I be a better teammate? And not be talking to everyone else. It seems really easy to see what everyone else can do, but start with yourself. So this was my father's favorite joke. It's a little morbid, but I will run through it with you. So these two guys are living together, and a guy goes on vacation, and he has a cat, and he loves his cat. So he tells his roommate, please take care of my cat. And roommate says, yeah, I got it. So he goes on vacation, he's calling in every day, and the third day he calls in, he said, how's everything going? And his roommate says, your cat's dead. And he's like, oh my God, you don't just tell someone your cat's dead. And he said, well, what should I have done? He said, well, tell me the cat's on the roof and you can't get it down. And then the next day you say, oh gosh, the fire department's out here, things aren't looking good. And then you tell me your cat's dead. He said, okay. He goes, I understand. So the next year, the same guy goes on vacation. He calls his roommate and he says, hey, how's everything going? He said, your mother's on the roof and we can't get her down. So the moral to this story is talk to people if you're worried about something, if you see a problem developing, if you're concerned something's not going to be done in time, if you're concerned that you don't really understand what it is that the client's trying to solve for. Talk to people, communicate, bring it up early. Don't let those problems fester, right? Because it only gets worse. Everything is negotiable. I had a guy tell me, when the client says no, that's when your work begins. So every time you think that there's a hurdle you just can't get over, think about how to negotiate and how to get around it. One of the very first jobs I sold at Security Pacific Bank when I was selling printing, we had this little printing business and just a couple of folders. The woman needed 2 million statement inserts delivered in a week. And my dad used to say, just say yes, look her in the eye and smile, say thank you very much. When you get in the car, you can start sweating. So I get back to the plant and I tell my father, oh my God, how are we going to get 2 million statement inserts in a week? And he said, you know what, let's go down to the center where they insert those statements at Security Pacific Bank, and let's talk to the guys running the inserters. He said, nobody pays any attention to them. Let's take them some paper samples, have them try different papers, see what's easier for them to insert, and maybe we can get some scoop from them. So sure enough, we go there, we take the different paper samples. They loved getting the attention. They picked a paper they like. And I said, so all of these are due October 1st. And he said, well, we're not using them until the 8th. Oh, so I can deliver them on the 7th? Sure. And he said, you know what? We really can't fit all 2 million at once. Can you deliver a couple of 100,000 a week? And I said, oh yeah, I can do that. Saved, right? So by digging in, we found a solution. There's always something that you can negotiate. So if you hear no, or if you think it's impossible, put your thinking cap on, you can come up with something. I think even the IRS will negotiate. Make money where you are. This was one of my dad's lessons in the printing business. It's very capital intensive. And a lot of people would start the business and say, oh, I only need 50,000 in sales, and then I'll be making money. And in the meantime, they go out of business. So he said, wherever you are, figure out what your expenses are and make sure you're positive. When I was a little girl, I heard some kids on the playground talking about somebody that was rich. So I asked my dad, how much money do you have to be rich? And he said, spending less than you make. Intention, energy, and presence. I got this from one of my leadership books that I like to listen to. And I love this. And I think about it when I go into like those account meetings or meetings with clients. What's my intention? Am I bringing the energy? Or am I in the meeting like this, right? Am I bringing the energy? Am I sitting up? Am I looking at people? And am I present? I'm not thinking about other things. I'm not texting other people. I'm present in the meeting. I'm present with my people. And I am there and bringing that energy. And focus. So one of the accounts I'd built up in the printing business was, as I'd mentioned, Security Pacific Bank, and they'd become our largest client. And then they were purchased by Bank of America, and the marketing department was gone. Bam. In a week. All that business lost. So I said to my father, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't believe that. They took away all that business and moved it to Charlotte or wherever it was. And he said, hey, they can take away the business, but nobody can take away who you are. You got that work from them, you'll go get it somewhere else. I love that. Now this is from my mom. She used the word sure a lot. She was very positive. Right, hey Mom, can I go over to Allison's house to play? Sure, let's figure out how we're gonna get you there. So it's really fun and energizing to work with positive people. So when you bring in a new project, or you have a new opportunity, when you're working with people, if they're positive, if they're excited, if they're there to help you, that's what makes a great teammate. Never, ever, never, ever, ever give up. If it's right, if it's the right thing to do, stick with it. I remember originally when the CRM or the retention business for Verizon had been consolidated and they selected another agency, we weren't taking no for an answer. We were sticking around. We were showing up. We were making sure that we were keeping in front of people and coming up with ideas. And sure enough, we won that business back. But just don't give up. Stick with it. If it's the right thing to do and you persist, good things will happen. So people ask me, gosh, how did you go into the printing business with your dad and then start Rauxa and raise a family and be a mom, be a wife? I said, help. I got a lot of help. A lot of great help from people here at Rauxa. A lot of great help from my husband, right? Don't be afraid to ask for help. Use your resources. The other thing my dad taught me about help is sometimes a person will be in a crisis or have a problem. And you'll hear people say, oh, what can I do to help? And he said, nobody ever answers. Nobody ever says, do this to help me. He said, just do something. So he was so great at that. And I remember our plant manager had to have heart surgery, and he was going to get it done down in Long Beach. And my dad's like, hell no. Moved him to UCLA, got him one of the top cardiac surgeons in the country, rented a suite across the street at the W Hotel for his family so they could stay there and see him often. Nobody asked him to do those things. He just jumped in and helped, and it was so much fun to see. And that kind of thing is it's just special. Okay, so I'm really dating myself, but there was this movie, Love Story, with Ryan O'Neal and Ali McGraw. And they were saying, love is never having to say you're sorry. Wrong. Love is having to say you're sorry all the time. And, by the way, take responsibility. Don't make excuses. Take responsibility, make a plan, apologize, and move forward, right? And apologize not with, oh gosh, I'm sorry I'm late, there was traffic on the 405 in LA. Oh, really? That's unusual. Just apologize. No excuses. I'm accountable, and here's what I'm going to do to make it right. My dad was so good at this. Make it easy for the client. He used to say, don't ask a client. When I first started, I asked someone for directions, and he's like, no, don't ask a client anything you can figure out for yourself, right? Or figure out another way. And then if you're emailing a client, a lot of times it's more important to talk or show up or call, but if you're emailing a client and you have questions, organize them together, highlight them. Every communication, if you're going through a round of creative, do they have all the information that they need in order to make comments, right? Make it easy for the client. Billing should be clear. Scope of works should be clear and simple so that they say, gosh, it's so easy working with Rauxa. Intensity and passion. One of our old Verizon clients said that Jean and I were a really good team because she was nice and helpful and I was pushy. So I'm not exactly sure. Gina's like, gosh, I want to be pushy. I was like, Gina, I don't know. I think maybe yours was a little bit more of a compliment. But The fact of the matter is, I'm intense. And I'm passionate, and I want to do it right. And at the end of the day, that's what's important to clients. And even if you're a little pushy, or even if you're a little intense, they know, gosh, these people are going to take care of it because they care about it, they're intense about it, and they're ready to do the work, and they bring that energy. Now, when the customer says, yes, stop talking, this was another one of my father's comments. How many times have you said yes to something and then people keep talking about it? So I said yes already. You know, I could just talk you right out of it if I keep talking. How many of you have seen the movie Moneyball? Yeah, and Brad Pitt's on the phone and the guy says yes and he just hangs up. I mean, that was a little abrupt. But when the customer says yes, stop talking. We were at this one client, National Direct Marketing at the time, and they gave me 8 printing jobs, and there were 9 altogether, and I was fighting for the 9th. My dad's like, maybe you should just take the 8 and say thank you. Do the unexpected. There's a book called Moments where they talk about what an impact it is to just do the unexpected. And I remember Nancy had a lunch date with a Verizon client, and then she got stuck at work, and her favorite restaurant was Claim Jumper. I'm not sure why, but that was her favorite restaurant. And so Nancy went to Claim Jumper, got her favorite salad, showed up, and then just put it on her desk while she was on all these calls and having to prepare this PowerPoint so that she could at least have her salad. And it was so unexpected. And she was so grateful. And it's just a little thing. But anytime you can think about doing something special for someone, it goes a very long way. Okay, face the tough stuff and over-communicate. Sometimes when the shit's hitting the fan, people have a tendency to hide or put their head in the sand. That is the time you over-communicate. We were going to be late on a project when I was sales manager at the printing business, and the client was super mad, and the press was broken, and they were flying in the parts, and I'm calling her, and every time I'm calling her and giving her an update, she's yelling at me, but I just kept calling. Okay, the part it's in the plane. Okay, the plane has landed. Okay, it's on the way to the plant. We got it in. The press is up and running. You'll have a partial of 20,000 by 8 p.m. tonight. And pretty soon, she stopped yelling at me because she knew how hard we were trying. So it's face the tough stuff, over-communicate where you are. Keep people informed. Don't be afraid. Show up. So I was bidding on these credit card applications for First Interstate Bank, and I had done them for years and years and years, and the buyer was giving me a bad vibe. And I told my father, I said, I don't know. I mean, we've been doing this project. It's really important to us to keep these applications, but I got a bad feeling. And he said, go see her. And he said, when is she going to make the decision? I said, I think tomorrow. And he said, what time does she get in? I said, oh, she gets in early at 7. I said, okay, I'm going to show up there. So sure enough, I got there at like 6:45 because I'm padding for success. And she showed up at 7. She was so surprised to see me. And I said, hey, I was just worried, being a little vulnerable. I was just worried about that application project. I really want to do it. Is our price right? I know you were getting multiple bids. And she was going to give it to the competitor, but she turned it around and decided to give it to me because I was there. It's really hard to say no to people when they're there. It makes such a difference to people. You learn so much more about them and their work and what they're trying to do when you're with them. And particularly if there's a problem, show up. Answer before they ask. So when you're working on a project and you think, okay, so I'm going to tell the client this, and then they're going to want to know what. So I'm going to prepare that too. So that every time you have a communication, every time you start the day, you think, oh, if I was that client, what would I want to know today? And before they even think of asking, you're coming up with the answer. Or, geez, if I was that team member, what would I want to know today? About that project, about where the client was, about how the client felt about it. So always be thinking about that. What does teammate, what does client, what do they want to know before they even have to ask about it? That's what makes Rauxa special. It's part of extraordinary service. So back in the day when I started selling, we didn't have any of these devices. You actually wrote a letter to people. So I wrote my first sales letter, and I was so proud of it, and I took it into my father, and I said, what do you think of this? And he read it, and he's like, how many times are you going to say I? Quit the I. It's not about you, it's about them. What are they doing? What are they trying to accomplish? It's about them, and it's about the team. So I'm always aware of that when I do any kind of communication. Check the number of I's. At the end of the day, people want to know you care about them. I have people say, what does it mean to be woman-owned? I said, there's 3 things: mentorship, transparency, and care. The care that we give to the people, that Meredith is so good at organizing and running, and the care that we give to the clients. Like, we really care about them, and we want them to be successful. So this is my formula for trust. Reliable, right? We're going to do what we say we're going to do. Accountable, right? That's my responsibility. I messed that up, and here's what I'm going to do to fix it. Vulnerable, if you're worried about something. Confidentiality. Over self-orientation, right? Because we want very little of that and all this good stuff on the top. Oh my gosh, these are the words that I get such a kick out of. You're all going to hear about them at some point if you haven't already. And the comments my father used to make were hilarious. So my favorite one is should. You'll see it all the time. The creative should be there at 3. And my dad would say, it's not a moral question. The creative will be there at 3, right? Quit hedging your bets. Or to the best of my understanding, to the best of my knowledge, I believe, he'd say, okay, now I know what you understand. What's the right answer? I mean, quit hedging your bets. Another classic was the to be honest. People would say, well, honestly, and my dad would say, okay, should I discount everything else you said? Is this the first time you're honest? So I actually saw an article in a paper where an attorney said, don't say honestly or to be honest, say candidly if you want to use a word. But try, he's like, no, we're not trying, we're doing. And one of the couple of words I've heard recently is short of or kind of. No, that weakens what you're saying. It's not sort of or kind of. And then most recently is shortly. I've been hearing a lot of shortly. So I tell people, well, let me tell you what I think shortly is, 37 seconds. So you're better off to tell me when than to tell me shortly. And I made the mistake in the printing business. I told someone it was going to deliver the week of. I thought that meant Friday. She thought that meant Wednesday. So Thursday, she was upset with me for not delivering. So I learned, oh, okay, be exact. End of day, when is end of day? Is it 5? Is it 8? Is it 11:59? Right? Be exact, pad for success, do what you say you're going to do. We had a job on press, and it wasn't looking right. I'm like, oh my God, do we take it off the press? Do we try to fix it? What are we going to do? And Dad said, they'll forget the job that was a day late or cost a little bit money, but they will never forget the job they didn't like. Take the time and make it right. And that's it. And that's my dad. I'm standing on a box. He was actually quite tall. Thank you. Okay, are there any questions?
Jill, did you ever give your dad any advice or ask him a question that he didn't see coming?
Yes, he did not like to confront. And it's very important to be clear, because clear is kind, and you need to tell people soon if they're having issues or they're not doing their job, and you need to give specific examples. Don't procrastinate.
So from all these lessons or from anything else that you've learned over the years, if you had 30 seconds in an elevator with somebody who was just starting out their career, what would you tell them? What sort of advice would you give them?
Well, I've had people ask, how do you start a business? Or what do you think about when you start a business? And I said, really, there's 3 things. One, you got to know it, right? You got to dig in and really know it. You can't do what's right for a client unless you know it. So that's number 1. And then number 2, do people need it? Because if nobody needs it, you're not going to have a business. And then 3, can you make a buck? Is there a way to make a profit?
So hi Jill.
Hi.
You talk a lot about starting in print, and now that everything is so digital, how over the years have you learned about the new things and changed and continued to grow and bring more education so that you can shift your focus from being very print focused to this now super digital, super data, super everything that we didn't have all those years ago?
That is a really great question, because you are so right. It is an entirely different world, but we stay focused on figure out what customers need and help them get it done. And helping them get it done is the very smartest way to get it done. The other thing is, in general, I don't like bullshit. I want to deliver measurable results that I can show people, and I want to make sure we're doing a great job for them. And if we're going to do a great job for them, we need to leverage whatever the newest technology is. And so I just love data because it tells the story. And then all these platforms that help deliver these creative, personalized experiences. It's just super exciting to me. And plus, I try to have that growth mindset. I want to learn all the time. Not only about technology and marketing and data, but just also about leadership and personal growth.
Hey, Jill. So following up on Brene Brown, so I'd like to hear your perspective on what it means to be in the arena and the importance of that. And also, alongside that, having had all this success in building that you have, what's your biggest dream now?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. Yeah, so being in the arena to me is just not giving up, right? We've got our core values, we believe in what we do, and we're gonna hang in there. I tell a lot of young people, everything you possibly can imagine, I have screwed up at one point in time. But I don't spend very much time beating myself up. It's like, whoops, that was a bad idea. Now what are we gonna do about it, and how are we gonna stay after it? So I love being in the arena, and yeah, I've gotten my ass kicked and come back again, and gotten my ass kicked again, and it's a place that's full of life, right? That you're trying your best and you're staying after it. As far as what's next, I'm just really continuing to focus on Rauxa. I love having a job, for starters. I love having purpose, and I love all the people here and what we've accomplished. And it's like, okay, we've gotten to here. What's next? What's next? What's next? So let's see what else we can do.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm new. So,
Is
speaking
I'm
of,
new your name?
Oh. No, it's Alberto. Hi.
Oh, the data guy.
So, speaking of what's next, I assume, dealing with new corporate overlords is completely new to you. So how are you going to learn how to deal with that?
As so many other things in business, I'm just going to learn as I go. I'm going to keep doing what I think is right for the business. And if someone tells me no, then I'm going to go ask somebody else until I get what I want. And when I met Artur, the CEO, he said, oh my gosh, you guys have been doing phenomenally well, your client relationships, your growth, everything, don't let me screw you up, just keep doing what you're doing.
Hi. If you were to win another client, who would that be? Like your favorite, most exciting brand?
You know what, people ask about me, ask me about that all the time, and I say, you know what I love? Nice people that pay us. I don't need some sexy brand. I like nice people that pay us and that give us an opportunity to do what we're good at. Yeah. So I love it when we can get in there and beyond just like a creative project, do strategy, figure out what they're trying to accomplish, and help them in all kinds of ways, data being a big part of it.
What's the hardest stereotype to overcome as a female leader, especially in a male-dominated business, and what do you do to get ahead of that?
So I have always had the perspective that it's an advantage to be a woman. Because at the end of the day, you need to get under what's important to people. And I can ask questions, and I can show up with coffee, and I can smile and talk about their wives and their kids. It's just a whole different approach. It's an approach of compassion and empathy that I think is a big advantage over over men when it's harder for them to do that. It's harder for them to be vulnerable. It's easy for me. And so I've always thought it was an advantage. And, you know, if somebody has an attitude like women can't do it or whatever, I don't even notice. I just bowl right over that. Yeah, so just think of it as a plus. Sorry, guys.
So, what I love about Rauxa is how people from all different generations are working together. So, what is the secret to that intergenerational successful team to come together? What have you seen that really brings people up through the company?
I think it's the core values, because it doesn't matter your age or your generation. When people talk about millennials, I'm like, you can't lump people into those sort of big categories. But if you care about the people, if you're trying to do great work and everyone feels a part of it, then it's great. Doesn't matter what age you are or your ethnic background, you know, female or male, what religion you are. It's all about coming together, taking care of each other, being transparent, and doing great work.
What is one thing you wish you knew when you were first starting out with your father and also like building your business? If you could go back and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
What's the one thing I wish I would have known? Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think that there is anything specifically, because I had to experience the screw-ups in order to really learn from them. You know, saying the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, or even when we made the acquisition of Thought Matrix 5 years ago in San Francisco, it was the right idea to add technology, but it was the wrong company with the wrong culture. And so it's learning as you go, but being smart enough to make those mistakes and be able to come back. And believe me, I've done them all. Don't beat yourself up. That's the big thing.
What's the most important lesson of all the ones you took us through?
Persistence and heart. Any other questions? Are you sure? Okay, thanks everybody.